To start this video, I'm gonna tell you that in this video, I'm not only going to test FSR 3.1, but I'm going to test FSR4 as well. And yes, the official implementation. No, I'm not using OptiScaler, and yes, you need a driver update, and no, AMD did not send me a special driver, and I can tell you that the driver that works with FSR4 here officially is available for download when you search on Google, but we'll get there.
Oh my!
And by the way, if you don't believe me, it's easy, like resolution scaling, Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.1, 3.1, and 4. In the place where it should be 3.1, it is Fidelity FX Super Resolution 4. Just so you know that I'm not lying. Now, how do I know this? When I was testing the 9060XT some time ago, and AMD sent me the release drivers, the press release drivers of the 9060XT, since I test several games, I noticed that the game supported that. On that little notification tab that you get when you start the games, it said FSR Fidelity FX Resolution 4 available. So I remembered, and again I installed those drivers, the 9060XT press drivers, and FSR4 does work. And here we are now, starting with this scene that has some interesting points, I would say. And we are running 4K native, and as we run, and now we're going to test FSR 2.1, FSR3, XeSS 2.0, and FSR4. But before, let's into today's sponsor. Today's video sponsor is GVG Mall, bringing you lots of software deals like Windows 10, Windows 11, Office 2019 or 2021 with a new Windows 11 design, and for all of these you can use my SKG discount code for 30% off, getting a Windows 11 serial key for $22 and a Windows 10 one for only $15. Then use the key on your Windows settings and you'll have an activated system. And as we run 4K native, and again, just for you to know that I'm not lying, 4K native graphics, graphics, no resolution scaling whatsoever, and even at 4K native, for example, as soon as you look at the street or if you look at the horizon, you can see that there is shimmering, there is some shimmering, for example, on the grills of the car. I would say that the trees are fine, but yeah, there is some shimmering. Now let's start with the quality mode, Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.1, let's start with the 2.1. And we lose a lot of detail. It somehow, in quality mode, it gets a little more stable on those lights there. Yeah, these edges are just so bad. You can't even see them. It's really, really bad. We lose a lot of detail on the streets. For example, if we look at the car, we have slightly more shimmering, not much, but slightly, and shimmering as well on that building behind it. So yeah, it doesn't look great. And remember, we are upscaling from 1440p to 4K. We have lots of pixels and still it doesn't work good. As soon as we go to Fidelity FX Super Resolution 3, now the building gets a little better. If you look, for example, there at the top, it looks a bit better, but as soon as we look at the back of the building, yeah, we still have a little bit of shimmering. We do have a little less shimmering and a bit more of pixelation, but it is still there. But for example, as soon as we look at the street and those lamps, we now have even more shimmering than we had before with 2.1. So 3.1, which is actually upscaling 2.2, maybe 2.2.2 or 2.2.3. Yeah, we actually have more shimmering in some scenarios. Now we have shimmering here in the borders of the car, we have more shimmering on the street, and we have way more pixelation, which is not good at all. As soon as we move to Fidelity FX, and now we don't really have the 3.0, so we don't really have upscaling 3.1. No, that's crap. We only have 2.1, 3.0, and then 4.0, which is a bummer. We do have frame generation 3.1, but they didn't update the upscaler. I don't really know why. But now it gets even weirder, because even though on the Cyberpunk release notes it says that we need to have drivers that will later be released in order for FSR4 to work inside the game, well, as soon as I updated from those drivers that I had, the 9060XT drivers, but then went into the 25.6.3 drivers, it seems that FSR4 is still selectable inside the game. It doesn't show on the drivers, but it's still selectable inside the game. So I don't really know if that's a bug or if that's working on the regular drivers and the game is just well, it's just finding out that I have an RX 9000 series and is letting me use FSR4 off. And we're back to the same place. Let me just go back a little. And I believe that we're using FSR3, still FSR3, yes, quality mode. And as you can see, shimmering, pixelation there, and so on. Shimmering on the bottom of the car, shimmering there, shimmering everywhere basically. As soon as we go and we enable FSR4, let's start with quality mode as well. We can increase the sharpness just a little bit. Apply. Bam! So we still have some instability on those lamps down there. It is normal, I guess, but as soon as we look on the street, yeah, it is much more stable. And this is a really hard line to define, and still FSR4 is doing a good job. And the same happens here on the car. We basically have no more shimmering on the grills. The shimmering is there, but very little. And here on the bottom, we basically have nothing more. If we look, for example, at the buildings down there, we stopped having pixelation. We have the lines, we have thinner lines, but pixelation just went away, and the same goes for the coconut trees. They just look much better. If we look there as well, there is no more pixelation there, at least not perceptible to me, and I'm using a 42 inches monitor, so yeah, it is not perceptible. And one of the things that I like the most about FSR4 and the LSS transformer model is the clarity. And FSR4 is kind of a mix in between CNN and transformer models, so the clarity is also increased. And basically, by clarity, I mean like the sharpness. But it is not just sharpness, the details are better there. And as soon as you look at the guns and so on, it just looks much better. Now, the real question is not about the quality mode, because we're running 4K, and running 4K with the quality mode is quite easy on the upscaler, since the upscaler has a lot of pixels to work with. So let's reduce it to the settings that most people use. Let's go to Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2.1 and let's go to the performance mode, upscaling from 1080p to 4K. Now that the algorithm has a lot less pixels to work with, I must tell you that FSR 2.1 doesn't look that bad, but as soon as I start looking at things, yeah, there's a lot of shimmering. Look there, for example, on the leaves in front of the TV, we have lots of shimmering there. So no stability whatsoever. For example, if you look at the fan there, there's a lot of pixelation and ghosting, which is unoptimal. More shimmering, more shimmering, more shimmering. Look at the building there. It's just insane. Let's try now FSR 3.0. Again, performance mode. Oh my goodness. I mean, FSR 2.1 actually looks better than FSR 3.0 in terms of shimmering. Looking at the things, it seems that FSR 3.0 delivers better clarity in some aspects, but in terms of shimmering it is so much worse. Look at that, that's crap. Damn. And looking at the street, looking there, looking at the car, oh my goodness, the pixelation and the shimmering is insane. Really insane. Look at the... yeah, this is so bad. Look at there. So bad. Now let's go enable FSR4, but with the performance mode as well. Again, upscaling from 1080p to 4K. As soon as we enable FSR4, look at this. No more shimmering there. I can immediately notice that the quality is much higher, like the clarity, the fine detail is much better, and both are using the performance mode. And while I could notice the difference in quality mode, in performance mode, where the algorithm has way less pixels to work with, FSR4 is just much better, not even comparable. So no shimmering whatsoever here. Even on this scenario, on this part, really hard with the TV on the back of the leaves, and still we have no shimmering whatsoever. There I would say that we still have a little bit of ghosting, but maybe it's from the game. I haven't tested with the LSS, so I don't really know. But yeah, the shimmering basically went away. As soon as I look at the buildings, the shimmering also went away. I can look there. So if I do this, we do have some artifacts, but generally when looking and so on, the stability is much better. We don't really have any details there. I don't really know if that's a bug or something, but shouldn't be happening. So FSR4 in performance mode works wonderfully well, very good quality. Now let's try XeSS 2 that was also updated. Now we also have XeSS frame generation if you're using an Intel Arc B580 or older ones, I guess. As for XeSS 2.0, I mean, it looks fine. Oh, but we're using the quality mode. Let's use the performance mode. And it looks fine. Actually, I must tell you that in terms of the street, it doesn't look as clear So in terms of clarity, FSR4 is better. I can immediately notice, since I have a big screen, I can immediately notice, for example, when I look at the gun. But as far as looking at the lights there, we don't have as much detail as we do with FSR4. But for example, the street, in terms of stability, it is way better. And yeah, we have a bit more shimmering here in the lights. You can see that the shimmering is there, a bit more. Not huge though, but it is there. Let's look at the building, and it is fine. It is fine, and I must tell you that XeSS performance mode is working very, very well here. And even if you can't really use FSR 3.1 unless you use OptiScaler, I mean, you can simply use XeSS 2. Just use XeSS 2 on your AMD card that doesn't really support FSR4. Use XeSS 2 and then use the frame generation, because now the frame generation can be decoupled. So XeSS is very good, for example, when looking here. But if I look there, it is way out of focus, and we do have a lot of ghosting. Let me see if that works better with FSR4. Yeah, FSR4 still has ghosting, but definitely has a bit less. So FSR4 performance, we have around 93 FPS. With XeSS 2 performance mode, we have 100 and something. So we have the same FPS, or even more than with FSR4, and the quality is very good. Now, believe me, we have more shimmering than FSR4, but I can 100% tell you that if they implemented FSR 3.1 in this game, it would be much worse than XeSS 2. So really, just to conclude, XeSS 2 is very, very good. Again, we have some shimmering here and there, but this is a software solution and can be used with your AMD GPU. And this is one of the things that still makes Intel relevant. At least we see Intel name there. Intel logo and naming there. Intel XeSS is still doing a wonderful job, and software side, it is doing a much better job than FSR 3.1 ever did. And this is the solution for users with older AMD cards. Yeah, but of course, if you can use FSR 4, even the performance mode looks great. And I can immediately tell you, when changing from XeSS 2 to FSR 4, and I know that with YouTube's compression and so on, it is hard to see, but I can immediately tell you that FSR4 looks much sharper. It retains more fine details and it just looks sharper, clearer. It is definitely a huge upgrade. So yeah. And well, it actually seems that the stuttering isn't because of isn't really because of the recording. It is because of the game. I'll try to reboot the game and see if it works better, and I'll try to use any other drivers, because these drivers work with FSR4, but if they work like this all the time, yeah, it means that the implementation isn't done properly and we really need newer drivers. And even if I lock my FPS to a lower number, it still has issues for some reason. Even if I lock to 75, it never is at 75, and maybe it's because of the drivers, maybe I need to reboot, whatever. Now, just for a perspective, as you can see, without recording, we have better frame times, but still the frame times aren't really that great with the RX 9070. I don't really know why, but it is what it is. As soon as I start moving a bit, the frame times start getting worse again, and yeah, I don't really know what's happening. Maybe it's because of the drivers. But well, the point here is showing you the quality, not the FPS per se, so I guess the point is still valid. And even if you can't use these drivers, you can just use OptiScaler and it will still work. And by the way, want to know if you can use ray tracing now or path tracing? Let's try path tracing at 4K. This thing is huge, I mean. And oh, so now when you enable path tracing, the ray tracing options don't disappear. I guess that the game is still bugged in some scenarios. Or maybe they did this on purpose, I don't really know. So with path tracing and FSR4 performance, we have around 40 FPS. This is not playable, but I mean, it's 4K performance mode and we're using FSR4 and still looks fine. Still looks fine. And I believe that if the drivers weren't crashing the way they are, the performance would be better, because I tested it with OptiScaler and it was working fine, so I guess it is what it is. But still, even in terms of noise and so on, FSR4 still handles ray tracing decently well, even of course with path tracing, ray tracing and so on. Even in performance mode, it kind of handles things decently well. And if we go down to only ray tracing instead of path tracing, we go up to 62 FPS. So let's try frame generation now, because we definitely need it here. And well, it seems that frame generation is either helping, because it is, of course, in terms of smoothness, it is much better now, and we're running ray tracing, so 4K FSR4 performance with ray tracing, and it's working perfectly fine. And even in cards that have around the same power as the 9070 non-XT, you can just use XeSS with frame generation. If you don't believe me, just go here, video, then we go to, let's say, XeSS, and as you can see, frame generation just doesn't move an inch, and we're using ray tracing on. As you can see, working. XeSS 2.0 with FSR 3.1 frame generation. But again, quality-wise, FSR4 is better, so if you have FSR4, just use it. Generally much better, really. Let me just go again to FSR4. Performance mode, ray tracing with frame generation, and it just looks good. Just looks and feels great. Of course, it doesn't really feel as good as when using 120 FPS natively or in-game engine without frame generation, but it definitely feels quite fine, better than the normal 60 FPS that we have. I do think that CD Projekt could actually have, or could have had, anti-lag 2, and anti-lag 2 would definitely make the frame generation feel much snappier. Something that isn't really here, which is a bummer, really. But yeah, quality-wise, performance-wise, it is nice. Let me just try and disable frame generation, and yeah, we now have drops. We still have drops, and I guess that the reason frame generation didn't feel as good or as smooth was because I was already having drops here from the beginning, and frame generation can't actually hide that much. And even testing on this PC, yeah, the frame time is still not correct, so I need to investigate a bit more. It is still kind of spiking. XeSS 2 is great, so if you have an older AMD card, RX 5000, 6000, and even the 7000 series, because they do not have FSR4 yet, unless you're using Linux, of course. You can watch this video, by the way. So use XeSS for those cards and FSR 3.1 frame generation. As for the newer cards, if you want to test FSR4 without OptiScaler, you can download these drivers. And if these drivers still have issues, just go with OptiScaler with regular ones and you'll be fine. Now, as for these drivers, again, these were some drivers that I found. These are the press release drivers for the RX 96XT. And as you can see here, we have the 25.10.09.01. And one of the things that I immediately thought about was maybe these drivers aren't public and I can't really show you the drivers. But I guess they are. And if you go to Google and you just search for AMD SI drivers 96XT, they will appear. SI driver for Radeon RX 96XT drivers version. So yeah, it is public and you can download it. As you can see, AMD software SI driver for Radeon 96XT. It is there, and it is exactly the same version, so 25.10.09.01. Again, 25.10.09.01. It is the same version. Just download it, use it on your RX 9000 series card, and FSR4 will be available officially. Now remember, I don't really know if the drivers will have issues against stutters like I'm seeing here. I don't really know, I have to test better. I just wanted to make this video as fast as I could in order to show you how things work. But yeah, if you can't, just use, if it is giving you issues, just use OptiScaler. Otherwise, you have the drivers for the official implementation here, and it will most likely come with the 25.7.1 drivers, the official one, and it will work much better, I assume. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your comment in the comment section letting me know what you think about FSR4, if it works great or not in Cyberpunk, and see you in the next video. Cheers.